Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Luncheonette with Laura Diaz. That's me, and I'm so excited to be here. I've got a great session for you today. This is on a very hot topic that I know is near and dear to many of your hearts and your homes, your situations that are going on with your families, and that is the topic of foster parent abuse allegations. So we're going to head into that in a few minutes, but first I need to give you a little information. Now is a good time to take out your lunches. I brought my lunch box, you know, my usual lunch of champions, but I need to pull out the water bottle because it's warm in this room and in case I need to take a sip. So get your lunches out and get ready. Here we go. I have a top 5 list for you. And since our topic is about abuse allegations, I thought we'd focus on the police. So here we go, top 5. Number 5, the handcuffs are tight because they are new. They'll stretch out after you wear them a while. Number 4, if you run, you'll only go to jail tired. Number 3, so you don't know how fast you were going? I guess that means I can write anything I want on the ticket, huh? Number 2, the answer to this last question will determine if you are drunk or not. Was Mickey Mouse a dog or a cat? And last but not least, number 1, yeah, we have a quota. 2 more tickets and my wife gets a toaster oven. Those are funny police quotes. I hope you enjoy those. Okay, so the hook. Are you ready now? Stay tuned to the end of this episode because I am going to give you information on how you can get more continuing education credits. I know you need to meet those requirements from your CBC, so stay tuned to the end and I'm going to give you some valuable information. So now I would like to introduce our guest of the day, and that is Kim Hernandez. Welcome, Kim.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
Hello,
everybody. How are you today? I hope everybody's doing good out there. We're here today to talk to you about investigations of foster parents and foster care referrals. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and how my family has been impacted by investigations and how we are working together as a community with the Department of Children and Families to improve this process for foster parents. So first I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a foster parent going on 13 years. I have adopted 3 special needs children. I was a medical foster parent for 8 years and I adopted my 3 sons. I currently have 5 kids in my house, a 2-year-old foster baby, all the way up to an 18-year-old. So I have a full house and I live the world of foster care every day. I serve as the Hillsborough County President for the Foster Parent Association, which is Tampa, and I've served in the past as the Florida State President. So I do work really closely within the system statewide and have a lot of connections and relationships and have built partners, and I work very closely with QPI. So I tell you all of that stuff just to tell you that even with all of my training, education, let's see, the people that I know, abuse reports affected me just like they affect every foster parent.
So Kim,
yes.
Are you saying that you have had a foster abuse allegation against you?
I have.
Tell us about that.
Well, I've had 2, and I went actually 11 years and didn't have one. I thought I was going to be like the only person that I knew that never was going to have a foster parent allegation. Well, that was ridiculous because we always do say, it's not if, it's when. So knowing that, I was in my own world of delusion, believing that I was going to get out unscathed. But I did have my first one, and everything worked out fine, no findings. And I went on with my life, and everything was good. And last month, I was preparing for my daughter's high school graduation surprise party. So I'm busy doing all the things that you do when you're having a party. I'm having people enter the house. I'm still cooking food. I'm still picking up and cleaning. And I snuck into the bathroom for just a second, and I hear a pounding on my bedroom door. Hold on, I thought it was one of my kids. You know, they always like to bother me in the bathroom. So I thought it was one of the kids. Just give me a minute of peace. I'll be right out, I promise. Bang, bang, bang. You got to come out right now. So I knew it was a foster mom that was saying this. I come out and I go to my door, and yes, what do I see? The sheriff and the CPI at my door. Now, mind you, I have about, at that point, 20 guests in my house. And my daughter's on her way any minute. And I really looked at them, and normally I'm very professional. I know that people have to do their jobs, and I looked at them, I said, you're going to ruin her party.
Yeah, that's a bad timing for sure.
And you know, you can imagine my guests are coming to the house. There's a sheriff's car in front of the driveway. There's a unmarked CPI car, and I had to let them come in. It was their job. And what I wish I had known then was that we actually could have probably done it differently, but we didn't. The way that it was done is the CPIs wanted to investigate right then and there. So within the midst of about 30 people now at my party, everyone's very nervous and upset because why are there sheriff's cars here? And they know that this is a party. They know I'm a foster parent. They know how many children I've taken care of. And you foster parents know that we don't do this for the money, that we do it because we love the kids and we sacrifice a lot. We sacrifice our sleep, we sacrifice the house we live in, the car we drive, the places we go to eat, you name it, we sacrifice it because when you have children in your home, foster children, you have to do things a little differently for their benefit. So that being said, I had an aunt, I have a wild aunt that said, how dare you come in here and do this in the middle of a family party? And I had to put on my big girl hat and I had to say, they have to investigate. But I felt the same way.
Sure.
How dare they do this to me? I've been advocating for kids. I've fostered 100 kids. I've done all of this work statewide. How could you do this? But it didn't matter. None of that really mattered. They had a job to do. So they went ahead and they interviewed me. Now this time I have 40 guests. I can hear them rumbling. I can hear everybody nervous. And we go ahead and we do the investigation. And actually what it was is my son had a little mark right here on his eye. My 2-year-old foster baby had thrown a shoe at him 2 days before and left a little red line. Rather than asking the questions that needed to be asked as a partner within the system of care, somebody called an abuse report. And they went on and continued to investigate everyone within my home, all the children in the home. They pulled them aside, they talked to them, took pictures of everybody, took pictures of the baby. Now I have about 45 guests now. My daughter's on her way, and they don't leave. They don't say, we have enough, Ms. Hernandez, or we'll get back with you. They wait. And what ended up happening is they waited until we said surprise. And the hardest part about it is my daughter's father had had surgery that day. And her thoughts went to, there's a police car here, the whole family's here, something happened to my father.
Yeah. I could imagine her surprise.
So instead of it being a really happy surprise, later on she relaxed, she thought something bad had happened. And so not only did they come in, they were there when we said surprise, she walked in the door and they said, can we interview you? And that was how she was greeted to her surprise graduation party. Now the good thing is my daughter's been raised with me being a foster parent. She's 18, we've been doing it for 13 years. But there has to be a better way. And the good part of my story is going to be that change is going to come.
So we were fortunate to attend a meeting in Orlando on August the 14th. Kim and I both participated. There were other foster parents from around the state, DCF representatives, CBC representatives, CPI, and so there was a lot of people across a lot of these positions, and I think that we were given some very, very interesting statistics that I would like to share with you if that's okay. First of all, we found out that in all the abuse reports that are called in to the hotline every year, only 3 out of every 400 reports are a foster parent. Of those, 99.1% of foster children experience no maltreatment while they're in foster care. Florida ranks number 2 in reducing abuse in foster care, and that's from a very recent study. What we found is they put together this committee and they did a sampling. They pulled of the 526 actual investigated abuse call-ins, they pulled a random sampling of about 10%. So I think they pulled like 58 of those cases. Of those 58 cases, 31.6% were called in by CBC staff. 13.4% were called in by the parent. Of those, when they were re-reviewed and the committee pulled them, looked at those, re-listened to the recording of the call, looked at the report, they found that 54% of them warranted an investigation and the others didn't. So I wanted to share that with you because over half of those didn't even need to be investigated. And what we also found to be very interesting was that of those, less than 9% had a verified finding, actually findings coming out of those investigations. So what we see is a lot of angst amongst foster parents for going through this process, and they're not showing that there's true abuse going on in those situations. I can tell you personally, and with us being involved in the Quality Parenting Initiative now, that because we have started this initiative and we're looking at recruiting and training and licensing quality homes, that we expect the professionalism of those foster parents is even going to reduce further call-ins to the hotline. So I'm excited to say that a lot of good information came to this meeting, and also a lot of good results came out of it. So I'm going to have Kim maybe share some of those things that came out of the meeting.
Thanks, Laura. I think this was an excellent meeting, and I think this is the first time that we've brought these people together to talk about this subject. And anyone that's been through this, which is probably everyone that's listening to me out there, that has had an abuse report knows how traumatizing it is. And it's not just traumatizing for us, it's traumatizing for our birth kids, for our adopted kids, for our foster kids. To have the police show up again is scary. And so I'm really excited some of the things that we're going to be working on. And Pete DeGree with the Department of Children and Families is going to be heading this up and has asked a group of us, and I'm going to be on this committee as well as a statewide group throughout the system of care to work on how we can make this process better, if it has to happen at all. So let me read to you a few of the things in summary that we're going to do. So the first thing that Pete says we need to do is we need to have a clear definition of what is an allegation or a foster care referral. And the second thing says we should be staffing cases before they go to the hotline. Ask the foster parents follow-up questions, and that was my biggest thing. If I'm a partner within this system, you say I'm your partner, you're calling me on statewide initiatives because I'm your partner, why didn't somebody ask me what happened to his eye before you call the police? I understand that there are cases of abuse that we have to investigate. None of us want kids hurt, but there are situations that we know this family is stable and secure, and this is a minor scratch. Had this been a home that wasn't a foster home or an adoptive child, would they have called? Or they just thought maybe he was roughhousing with his 3 or 4 brothers, or something happened with him that way. So they're going to start looking into asking questions. I think that's huge. Alan Abramowitz had a suggestion that would be helpful, that if the hotline had a special unit to handle what they call institutional abuse calls, which is actually foster homes.
Yes.
They call them institutional. Reports that this unit should also be an expert on what's normal for kids, on normalcy. The next one is there needs to be some system for discretion in the time the CPI is responding. Okay, so that kind of comes out of my
Exactly,
situation, right?
perfect example right there.
Right, could they have said, can I see Jonas? Excuse me, Jonas, but he won't mind. Can I see you? Can I take a picture of him real quick, and we'll schedule to come back in 2 hours?
Right.
And I would
After
have
the
said, thank
party.
you.
Right.
Absolutely. So I think this is huge, because if they show up somebody else's house and there's a big party going on, maybe that family won't go through what I went through.
Well, my first thought when Kim shared this story is how many of those 40-something guests raise their hand and say, how can I sign up for this? I want to be a foster parent. They're like, police?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So this is, we have this statewide recruitment initiative going on, guys, and we really, really want to recruit quality foster parents. And this was a concern that we had, retaining good foster parents. Guys, when you get this abuse allegation, there's supports out there. We do not want you to quit. So we want you to know we're working on this, but we need to fix this, because we don't want people saying, hey, no, I don't want to have anything to do with police showing up at my house. So
I agree, and I actually brought that up because I feel wholeheartedly nobody at my party is going to say, I want to be a foster parent. And matter of fact, they said, why are you still doing it? You give of all of your time, your energy, and your emotions, and then yet they're going to come and investigate you.
Right.
But I know why I do it. Same reason that you do it, because we know the kids need us. And we're going to go past all of the bureaucracy and all of this stuff, and we're going to change it. We're going to continue to work together and advocate. Okay, do you want me to read any more of these?
Keep going.
Okay, so let's go on. Here's some more things that we're going to be working on. So hopefully in the next 6 weeks, we're going to see some things coming out of this. Okay, there should be a presumption on the least intrusive manner to an investigation. There needs to be a response level. So does a scratch under the eye warrant full sheriff and CPI? Or could a referral, or could someone have just said, care manager, go check on that family, a family development specialist, licensing worker, go check on your family. Okay? We need to have much more communication. Hallelujah. Who agrees that we need to communicate more? If I'm your partner, I expect you to talk to me and ask me those relative questions. We need to have more communications during the investigation process. How many times have I heard foster parents say, as I'm going to tell you right now, I have absolutely no idea what's happening in my case?
I agree. We hear these all the time, that the foster parent had the initial interview from the CPI, and then weeks, months pass, no results, still waiting to hear the outcome. They don't get return phone calls, so that's something we really need to work on, because it's scary sitting back there and what's going on. A lot of them are on hold. We need beds so desperately, and we're sitting out there and not knowing what's going on. It's just not quite acceptable.
I agree with you 100%. And we did discover that there is no reason why updates cannot be given during the process. So we'll be working on how do we communicate that information to the CPI and the Sheriff's Office to allow them to update the family on what's happening in the investigation. It says there needs to be a training to assist folks in relaxing as the investigation is in process. Well, I think that's easy for those doing the investigating, not so easy for those being investigated. To relax when you don't know how it's going to affect your license. If you're on hold and you can't take placements, that is not a good thing. We all know we have a lot of kids coming into care right now. We need every available quality home to have open access for their beds.
Well, one thing I'd like to add to that is I hope that you guys see that through the luncheonette and through some of our other QPI trainings, and we have a fast training and we intend to keep you educated on what's going on, that these will help you to know that we are out there, we're a voice for all of you, and we're advocating for this situation, and that hopefully from this committee, and you see these are the action steps that came out, that you can relax, that there are people out there that have been through the same situation, and that we are working on improving it.
Do you want me to keep going?
Keep going.
All right, we got a few more, and I think they're important. I only want to read them to you because I want you to know that you have foster parent advocates out there working on your behalf, and that we understand. I am not a bureaucrat. I am not someone that sits up. I do this work every day. I felt the pain of the investigation, so I have a passion, and I will let my passion show in the most professional manner as we go forward and advocate for these things. So next one, I like this one. When do we need law enforcement going? Do we need it to go to every place? Are there better ways that we can deal with it without traumatizing the children? Wow, that's one of the biggest ones for me, because my kids they didn't know if they were getting pulled. And this was actually on my adopted son, but I still am a foster home. And those children that I adopted are foster children.
Right. And remember, the last time that these children saw a sheriff come out, what happened? In most cases, they were removed from their home. So just seeing that car pull up, it's an instant fear that they have.
Absolutely. I was fearful. And I knew I didn't do anything wrong, so can you imagine the little ones who've been traumatized and seen this before? Ongoing telephone support. Telephone the foster parents during holidays and weekends and other hotlines so that they can report. That one doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I'm going to tell you, yes, and I do remember, and guys, this is important, because what this came from is we found out that a lot of you are calling in reports on yourself. And what it is that you were looking for services and maybe you just didn't know who to go to. So instead of calling the abuse hotline, utilize your CBC, contact your licensing specialist, and look for resources through that avenue first. You can even contact us here at QPI. Those are the ways you're going to try to find it, as opposed to going, because it is going to show as a call-in that you've made, and that was a good number of them also.
Yeah, and just think of the irony. You're right. You're calling because you have, let's say, a teen who's having a lot of behavioral issues, and you're just looking for some support, and you're actually calling an abuse report in on yourself. So we don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
So definitely, let's look for our resources locally and stay away from that abuse hotline unless it's really an abuse situation. Referrals. We do not need police and referrals except in extraordinary cases. Whew,
Well, one thing I was going to add in some of the statistics that we have is that different CBCs throughout the state handle this differently. Some of them, a CPI goes out with licensing. Some of them, the sheriff goes out. Some of them, it's just your licensing person. So we're looking at a more uniform process. So that may not apply to all of you, but I know it applies to many of you.
Absolutely. And this next one I spoke up about because there is no way for us as foster parents to appeal an allegation or the rulings, whether it's founded or not founded. What we did talk about is why do we not have any say during the process? You have your 5-minute interview or your 10-minute interview with the CPI and the sheriff, and then they leave your house, and really that's it until you get a letter in the mail that tells you what their findings were. And my big issue with this is why are we not able to give you evidence? When you come to my house, I'm in shock. I am not thinking about anything except giving you just whatever the answers to the questions that you're asking. But there might be extenuating circumstances. There might be more information that we need to share with you, and there needs to be an ability to share that information.
Right. Well, and you know what? A good example of that is in your own situation that maybe Kim had an incident report on the cut. You know, a lot of times these things are happening in the daycare environment. We get an incident report. Maybe we don't have it at our fingertips right when they show up at the door, but given some time, we could say, you know what? I've got some documentation on this. I'd like to forward it. But you're right. In a lot of cases, they say, you know, we'll call you if we need something, and then we find out the case is closed. And sometimes there's something there that we could have clearly, you know, provided the information to find a different outcome.
And I think another thing is that the way that the calls are coded is another area that I didn't read about. But one of the things that they're looking into is when you call the abuse line, the operator actually can make the decision on whether they think that this is an emergent call or if this can be a referral. And I think we're going to do some work around that on what should be coded as a referral and should never reach the level of an abuse report where they're calling the sheriffs and the CPIs out. So I think that will also eliminate a lot of these traumatizing situations that do not need to happen.
Well, and Kim brings up a good point, because one of the other things we learned in this meeting is that sometimes the person who is taking care of the child, their provider number is input just because the child is residing with you when the call-in was on the previous caregivers or parents. So there is some training going around right now on the use of FISFIN and how to appropriately code these. So obviously we're not getting any repercussions from that report if they're just residing in our home.
I think overall, Laura, this is just going to be a great thing for foster parents. We talked about recruitment and retention, and we want quality parents. We want people that are going to love these children as their own, but even take that extra step and advocate for them and work with the families and do visitations and do all of the things that kids deserve and that foster kids especially deserve. We're going to work really hard to change the way this is done for you. I want you to know that my passion is going to show through. Not that I can help it most of the time anyway, but I really feel strongly about this. It just came at the right time that this meeting was put together. So hang in there. If you're going through a report, I want you to hang in there. And I want you to be honest, and I want you to realize that we need you to continue to do this good work, that you as a quality foster parent.
Okay, and one thing I'd like to add is we talked about supports, and I want to remind you of the FAST team, and we're going to post that number right here on the screen, but you can contact them, and I have to tell you that they are also monitoring, tracking these reports. So if you can contact them, they're going to be a wealth of information, if nothing else, to listen to you, to hear you out, and to give you some advice on how to go through this process. So there's a wonderful group there, and they are there for you. So I want to take a minute here and just say thank you to Kim. It was just so wonderful that she could share this story. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it. They're embarrassed, but you know, this is just like she said, to show you that if it can happen to the Kim Hernandez, it can happen to any of us. So, you know, we're here for you, and I appreciate that Kim is such an advocate for foster parents, and our QPI team is here for you as well. And remember to send in your comments, your questions, and go to our Facebook page, and we'd love to hear from you. So speaking of quality foster parents, I'd like to tell you about some foster parents that have been recently recognized. These foster parents are Jonah and Amanda Dorman, and they received the Caring Heart Award at the Florida State Foster Parent Association conference we had in Daytona Beach. And then they were also awarded Foster Parents of the Year by the Florida Coalition for Children. Jonah and Amanda are foster parents in Pinellas County, and Jonah is the vice president of the Foster Parent Association over in Pinellas County. So they're very, very active in advocating for children. And one of the things that I think that really earned them this award was their ability to not only work with those children, but they're also taking in sibling groups. They're working with the bio parents. They took their whole group of children, all their children, to North Carolina for a visit and helped in a lengthy reunification process with a bio parent out of state, and it just made all the difference to those children, and knowing that they had the Dormans there as a support to their bio parents. So Jonah and Amanda, we applaud you and the good work you're doing, and we hope you continue, and congratulations on your awards that you've received this year. Okay, so I promised you guys that I was going to tell you how you're going to get continuing education credits. We have contacted the CBCs across the state, and all of them have responded and said, absolutely, if you watch our just-in-time luncheonette shows, these episodes, they're 30 minutes long, and we don't issue a certificate online when you watch them, so you need to go to your licensing agent or specialist, ask them for a form. There's a form that you can complete. It's just like when you watch a movie or maybe read a book, and it says the title of the training, a few things you learned, and if you turn that in, you are going to get credit for watching these. So I hope that you find this a great source of additional educational information and hot topics we're experiencing in foster care. A couple other quick announcements. I know I'm running out of time, but there is a very important survey that's going out. It goes out this same time every year. It's put out by Connect by 25, and it is for youth in care, foster children in care that are between the ages of 13 and 17. We're going to post the link. Parents, please encourage your kids to get on there. We want to hear from them. This is the only way DCF gets this information to really try to help improve their experience in care. So if you guys can help us out and get them on that survey, it would be greatly appreciated. Also, our team here at QPI has recently posted a couple of videos. One of them is the video from the meeting that we went to. It's Pete Degree and also Elise Davis. It's all their opening remarks. I think you'll find it very interesting. So if you want to see a little bit more of what Kim and I were just talking about, check that out. It's called Foster Care Referrals and Investigations. We've also put together another video that I want you guys to check out, and it is called We Are Foster Parents. It's about fostering and families. And if you guys have a relationship with your bio parents out there, you get new kids in care, this is a perfect opportunity to show the bio parents what foster parents are all about. And it's a great little video. We took clips at the conference of different foster parents talking about how they're not here to take their children, that we want to work with them for a successful reunification. So I hope you love it. Let us know your comments and suggestions as always, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.